Welcome back. Almost 5 years after it closed, first because of COVID-19 and then structural and safety issues, the Johannesburg City Library is scheduled to partially reopen on the 21st of March. The journey to get to this reopening took several years. It has been long and took a protest for key action to be taken. The ground floor is set to reopen in March, while the upper floor is only set to reopen several months after. To tell us more, I'm joined by David Fleminger, the chairperson of the Johannesburg Heritage Fund. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, the iconic Joburg Library has been closed for 5 years, and about a year ago, your organization protested, urging the city to expedite with regards to those renovations. Do you believe that that protest has led to the city cooperating and now to this partial reopening?
In short, yes, I think it did. As you said, the city closed the library for COVID, and then after lockdown, it remained closed due to what we were told were structural defects. We tried to engage with the city several times over the years. Why is it closed? What are the structural defects? Can we come and visit? And there was a lot of resistance and a lot of, delaying and procrastination and that kind of thing. So last year, as you said, we had a protest action with the Johannesburg Crisis Alliance, and that was very well attended. We had authors coming, protesting about how important libraries are, and we had a petition which people signed, and we sent it to the city, stressing how important this facility is for literacy, for education, for the local community, for the Wi-Fi stations, for the students, for the researchers, academics. Libraries should not be taken for granted, and they must be protected as very important community resources. After that, we suddenly started seeing some progress, some actual progress. And we were very gratified that the city, after a period of kind of reluctance, invited us to regular stakeholder meetings. We've been attending those about once a month. We have been briefed on the progress that's been made. We have been able to contribute to some of the concepts, some of the problems, finding new solutions for different things. And it's really been a generally positive and collaborative experience going forward. However, I will say that I do believe that it was the protest and the subsequent media attention that actually got the city's attention and forced them to start doing meaningful work as opposed to delaying and postponing any repairs in the library.
And speaking about those delays and postponements with those with the renovations that needed to take place at the library, what do you think was the fundamental problem there? Was it the monitoring of service providers who were meant to do these repairs? Why did it take so long?
It's a difficult question. It's a good question. I can't give a comprehensive answer, but I think there are probably a few issues. Budget is always an issue. We're aware of that. There also didn't seem to be any overall plan behind the repair work being done. We subsequently found out that the reason the library was actually closed after COVID was not for structural defects. There aren't any. It was for fire code violations. But over the years between 2021 and 2024, before we had the protest, there was no real repair work being done on the fire systems within the library. They were fixing things on the roof and doing leaking repairs here and there, and there was scaffolding going up and then coming down, but there was no actual work on the library, on what needed to be done, rather, within the library to get it reopened. And so we, in our petition, really, what we were demanding is that the city takes its mandate seriously and focuses and prioritizes on getting this important institution reopened with no more delays. And that seemed to focus attention at the city. And hopefully we, as I always say, we remain cautiously optimistic that the reopening will happen according to schedule and the full reopening will follow soon.
So you speak of no actual structural renovations that needed to take place, and instead it was the fire safety compliance and the water tank installation. Let's then go to the cost. I mean, the cost of these renovations have been highlighted, especially by opposition parties, with the city citing a total cost of 21 million that has already been spent, but a total cost of 69 million expected to be spent by the end of the project, with the Daily Maverick reporting that this could go up to 85 million. Having monitored this process from your vantage point, are these figures justified in relation to these upgrades?
I don't want to speak out of turn. We haven't been given access to the full breakdown of the budget and how it's been spent. Also, we were not able to break the city's tender procedure, so to speak. So the city is still appointing its own suppliers, its own contractors, and all we can do is provide a little bit of oversight or consulting services. So we can't actually point a finger and say, what is this for? What is that for? We haven't been privy to that information. However, there is something to be looked at here, because in 2010, there was a 100 million rand renovation of the library done partly by the city and partly by the Carnegie Foundation in America. That was supposed to set the library up for the next 20, 30 years. And yet, 10 years later, 11 years later, the library was closed down for fire code violations. So, you should kind of see the two together. There was an initial big renovation, and then 11 years later, there's another big renovation. And unfortunately, I'm not in a position to really interrogate the budget, and we haven't been privy to the contracts and the internal procedures the city has used to hire and pay these contractors. We do know that a contractor, one of the issues raised in the fire report was a leak in the roof. And the roof is leaking. There's a skylight and there is a leak on that skylight. It wasn't a major issue because it wasn't damaging any books. And it was kind of more of a cosmetic thing than anything else, but nevertheless, it needed to be fixed. We do know that the city paid 2 or 3 separate contractors to fix the leak, and none of them did. So the leak still has to be repaired after paying in full contractors to get those leaks repaired. So there are questions to be asked, certainly, that's not really our mandate. Our mandate is to get the library reopened as quickly and as safely as possible, and to hold the city to account to maintain their heritage resources. That's really our mandate. But there are certainly questions to be asked.
Most certainly. Well, then, speaking about your mandate and getting this particular library to be reopened, there are other community libraries that still remain closed. Even though, the city has got 84 public libraries, there's 6 of them, one in Ennerdale, one in Protea North in Soweto, another in Robertson in the Brixton Library, as well as the Murray Park Library in Jeppes that have been closed for many years. The one in Ennerdale had been closed back as far back as 2020, opened at some point and then reclosed again in 2021. What are your contributions with regards to some of these community libraries? As the access to free information for those communities is being hampered on.
Absolutely correct. We are aware of the branch libraries that are closed. Several community members in those from those areas have been in touch with us, asking what they can do, because the Johannesburg City Library is, relatively speaking, a success story. So they've been asking how we can get involved with the branch libraries. And the honest truth is that Johannesburg Heritage Foundation is not well funded. We are the Johannesburg Heritage Foundation, not the Johannesburg Heritage Fund, unfortunately. But we are self-funded, we are volunteer-driven, and we do as much as we can within our resource and our capacity. So our big task was the Johannesburg City Library, which we are continuing with. We have said to the people in the local communities, we support you, we're with you 100%. We don't have the capacity to actively get involved, but your communities need to drive those processes. Speak to your ward councillors, appeal to the council, get the city, sign a petition, get the city to once again take their mandate seriously. This is libraries, as is so many other things, but libraries particularly are such an important community resource for all the good they do. They're a community center, they're a place of gathering, they're a place of learning, they're a place of literacy. They really are, they can form the heart of a community if they're well run and well maintained. And that's what we are calling on the city to do across the entire library infrastructure. Take these facilities seriously. Do your job, keep them well resourced, keep them well maintained, and keep them open so people can benefit and enjoy these public resources.
All right, David, and lastly and very quickly, what really does it mean for the heritage of this library in terms of it reopening, and most especially for its surrounding community?
It's actually got a huge impact. The closure of the library has a huge impact on several levels. The first, as we've said, the people can't use the resources within the library. This is a heritage building, opened in the 1920s. So it is a heritage building, but inside the building is another level of heritage. All the 1.5 million books, thousands of records, archives, magazines, periodicals, newspapers that researchers use from around the world. There's an art collection in there. There's workstations with free Wi-Fi for people to use. So it is a hugely important and valuable resource for the people living in the immediate vicinity, for the wider community, and even internationally. Also, I will say the library is located right in the heart of town. We know that town, the inner city, is in a very bad state at the moment. It's decaying. It's not well maintained. And right in the middle of town, at Beyersnordea Square, which was the old original market square of Johannesburg, there's a closed library that's been shuttered for 4 years, and there are a whole bunch of abandoned buildings. How do you regenerate a city when the heart of the city is essentially empty and vacant and abandoned? It's not a good place to start any attempts to regenerate a very important part of the city. So on so many levels, having that library closed for so long had a very real cost. It wasn't something unimportant or irrelevant. It was a real blow to the community, and we're very happy to see it open, and we hope that we can see further regeneration within the inner city to make it once again a useful, safe, productive space for all Johannesburgers.
We most certainly do, and we certainly do hope for that upper floor to be opened sooner than later so that more of those residents can enjoy all those amenities that you made mention of. David Fleminger, thank you so much. The chairperson, we certainly should be very optimistic, the chairperson of the Johannesburg Heritage Foundation.